Hi there, it's Polly here. Working through the last of the wine. There's been some reprints of some of the classic foundation books of wargaming lately. They're a pleasure to see. Some of them back in the day weren't quite my cup of tea. I have to say this was one of them, but I did read them with interest. This is Charge! Charge is like a bit of a nostalgia blast for a lot of the older games community, because this was sort of one of the first wargaming rules books that was ever really kind of out there. So this is by Brigadier Peter Young and Lieutenant Colonel J.P. Lawford. And as I've said before, these early games were often a bit of a conversation with the author. They don't like, these are the rules, read them, goddammit, and play the game. No, they'll talk about, we want to do a game based on this that simulates this. Let's have a look at what we have to take into consideration, and then let's, from that, work through our reasoning together. You and I will come up with rules, and through this we'll make a set of rules. So you've kind of taken on the journey of what this is, how we've come at these decisions, and voila, you've made a game. So very old school, as you can see. This is done for armies that are made from essentially individually based troops, each guy standing by himself. The idea of putting these guys on multiple bases had not yet sunk in. This is for tricorn and musket sort of period. As they've said, look, the tactics were sophisticated, but easy to learn and understand. The uniforms are kind of splendid and bright. This is a great kind of starting period for anyone. It is actually, I would recommend, if you were going to start out in miniatures, couldn't do better than something like Malburian or 7 Years' War or something like that. Bright colours, great tactics, interesting history, really engaging. Thoroughly recommended as a period. But so what these guys have done is set up a game. So obviously, if we've got one, they've sort of come up with a scale where you've got a regiment is going to be a bunch of individually based figures. So there's all right. There's going to be about 2 dozen figures, but there's going to be like an officer. It's going to be, or each section of it might have an officer. There'll be like a flag party and so on. So they've actually kind of laid these out the way drill books showed you laying these groups out. Now here's a cavalry group, okay. And then you get off to the rules where they've gone through, like, well, here's the drill books of the time saying how fast these guys went. However, we're going to say that they've made a cheerful overestimation of the efficiency of troops. Once you get across country and into rough ground, that's going to come to pieces pretty quickly. So let's say here's our movement rates, and given that, all right, we've got a turn system. Let's do a morale system, let's do a firing system, let's do melees. I did a review of a set of rules called A Gentleman's War, which I think are superb. This was one of their leaping off points, because these are thoroughly playable rules, but they're a very early set of rules. Now you can play a good game with these, you really can. They've withstood the test of time. But what you get is, they've kind of decided they don't want you go, I go. So what they've done is you write orders for each unit as to where it's going to go and what it's going to do. So there's a delay at the start of each turn while you essentially write down what each unit is going to do. I'm going to move forward my full range. I'm going to charge this unit in front of me. I'm going to stand here and shoot. We are going to ford the river. Everything has to have that done. And then you start moving these guys kind of one at a time, but according to the actual orders that you've written out. So if you've decided that you were going to start crossing the river, but the guys facing you had orders which said, we are going to stand and shoot, all right, when you start crossing the river, but you're going to get shot at the time. Or if someone says, I'm going to move forward, and someone's cavalry says, well, I'm charging them, you can modify and change the rules. Like these guys can now dice to see if they react. But, so that's just their way of getting a little bit away from you go, I go, and having sort of a more integrated move. But there is the order writing phase. Now, combat's pretty deadly, I have to say. When you're firing, it depends on the quality of the troops. They've pretty much said there are like grenadiers, there are militia, and there are ordinary kind of guys. Each X number of troops rolls a dice, and that's the number of casualties you cause on the other guy. So if I have grenadiers, I think grenadiers roll a dice for every 8 troops. So every 8 troops is going to cause 1d6 casualties on the other side. I think ordinary troops, it's a d6 for every 10. I think militias every 12. But yeah, that's a lot of casualties being flung around. That's at close range. You halve if it is at long range. You halve if they're in some kind of cover. And so if I have my grenadiers, I'm rolling a d6 and I get a 3. If they're at long range, I've done 3 damage. Oh, sorry, if they're at long range, I've done 1.5 damage, which rounds up to 2 damage. However, if it was at long range and he was behind a wall, so he's in cover, it would be 1 damage. 1.5, halved again to 3/4. So, yeah, so, fairly easy to do things. Melee is done kind of on a one-on-one basis, and what you do is you kind of pair up into fights. If there's extra guys, they can gang up on extra people if you can reach. You're rolling a dice and you're trying to beat the other guy's dice, but you get a bonus for having help, and the cavalry, if it's cavalry fighting infantry, they have a bonus. If it's light cavalry versus heavy cavalry, the heavy cavalry have a bonus, but the light cavalry move a lot faster than the heavy cavalry, so they zoom around a lot more. And effectively, you're rolling, and if you have to beat him by more than 1 point. I think you have to beat someone by 2 points. If you beat someone by 2 points, they're a casualty. Otherwise, it's a draw. So yeah, and a melee combat can go for a while because and they've got quite a few examples here where 2 lines kind of hit each other, and doodly-doo, we've rolled. Okay, so these ones are all draws. 3 guys over here have died, 3 guys are over here have died, but we've still got like 20 in the middle, and the combat sort of, we haven't had a major excess of casualties. Like if someone does twice the casualties of the other guy, I think the other guy starts falling back, and if a unit falls below I think a third, then it will retreat. But it's like we haven't had that, so you get another round of combat. So you can get melees going for a few turns, in fact. Artillery, yep, you're firing, you're rolling dice to hit, and if they hit, then again you're rolling a dice, and that's the casualties they cause. They've got myriad rules for stuff that you're not really going to use, but they obviously wanted to be thorough. After all, they're a brigadier and a light colonel, so they've got rules for bridging, and they've got rules for blowing up houses, and engineering, and doing field works, and all sorts of things. And these are all laid out as when they get into after a chapter where it discusses movement or firing or melee, then you get the pages that got the rules, where they actually lay it out. The rule, how we do this, melee. The rule, when 2 groups meet, we square up, and we fire, and then we roll our dice, etc. So there's not that much to the guts of the rules. There's just orders, movement, fire and melee, and then check for morale. It's good and simple, and again, it has definitely withstood the test of time. That roll 1 dice per X number of figures, that echoed over into a number of other games in the early days, clearly all essentially copied from these rules. It gets you, in the words of an old game mate, it gives you a game. It's easy to play, it's easy to understand. There are, again, no quibbles, no rules, sub-rules, and sub-paragraphs of rules to have to learn. It's pretty damn simple. The only grades of troops that they've got are essentially, ordinary troops, slightly better than ordinary. So, these are your grenadiers, your guards, your elite light infantry or whatever, and your militia. You can split. Some guys can split up in skirmish. Skirmishers, you tend to halve the damage against the skirmishers, but they tend to roll way less dice to attack with. But you can use them to harass people from a distance. That's really it. Good, strong, stable rules that give an excellent game. So look, again, these are worth getting hold of if you're very interested in the history of gaming. If you were wanting to sort of teach some military gaming to younger players, again, easy to understand and very easy to teach and give an excellent game. You can just, there's almost nothing to explain. You can just learn it on the fly. For older gamers, canny old buggers like us, they're actually rather fun. I'd sort of forgotten how fun it was. I brought out the old, I brought out some of the old shinies, and you're zooming along, and I've got this mighty Malay bashing living daylights out of things over in one corner. While, damn it, I've got 6 guys firing, so. That's only half a dice. Oh, I see. That's how that works. All right, 1 dice halved. Oh, that's long range halved again. So. Any little things, it's such a simple core system of, dice rolls, thoroughly playable. And that's kind of the joy of bringing these things to you guys. Some of these things, some old games were clunky and got superseded by better ideas. Some of these just... people moved on and kind of forgot about it, but bringing them back again, you can see the joy of it because it is a thoroughly playable game. It's got its own charm and its own grace. My druthers, I actually really enjoy A Gentleman's War, which I have reviewed previously, which took these as a starting point and sort of streamlined and had a very clever interactive turn system, but that can lose someone sometimes, and some younger players or some players that don't want the complexities of that might prefer that simpler, more robust system of let's just give things orders and we'll move, and you're moving according to where you've sort of told your troops, so you can't suddenly he's headed for the bridge rather than into town. Oh, well, I'll just magically follow him. So no, you said you were heading for there and not there. And you can even streamline that in this day and age by, if you pre-wrote different types of cards with different sorts of orders on them, you could just keep them from day to day. These guys are going to charge anything that comes in range. These guys are going to stand and fire. These guys are moving straight ahead. You could preset that and really streamline that process. So it's not that much of a problem. Playable, robust, fun, charming. Wargaming without the arguments. Worth a look. I'm very glad to see these again. Anyway, if you've enjoyed the reviews, by all means, like and subscribe. Find me on Patreon. Do tell people about the channel and so on. I will keep hunting out things. I've got some great new role-playing games have arrived, but they're enormous, so it's taken me a long time to read them through. And with good ones, I do actually like to play a few sessions before I review them for you guys, because I really want to know how they run. So, working my way through those, I will keep finding, I'll keep researching, and you guys keep rolling the dice, keep playing, enjoy your games, be good ambassadors for gaming, like these guys who wanted nothing more than to communicate to people out there how much they loved gaming and how much they wanted you to understand that excitement and that joy that they were having and kind of bring you into the fold. Share the joy. Cheers, everyone.